perception. You know, there is a lot of perception out there from the 70s to the 80s and all the way up to this time now, you know, in this century here, that folks think that, you know, lowriding is a culture that it trends towards gang violence and gangs. It's truly not that. It is a definitely, I think it's more of a very, very expensive hobby for folks that value the vehicles and what they put into it to get it damaged or destroyed in that type of environment, criminal activity or gang violence activity. That perception is far-fetched at this day and age. It's like I stated before, you see some of these vehicles now that have, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in these vehicles. I think they're in you know, some type of good high demand paying job, and they're putting that type of money into those vehicles. Does not interact with crime and violence, and that, so that perception I think is far-fetched from a lowrider community. Maybe portrayed in some movies in the 70s and 80s that kind of link that maybe to it, individuals, but not to the actual entire community of lowriding. It's a 1967 Super Sport Impala. It was given to me from my father in 1985 as a first gift car for my driver's license, and then as a high school present. I've built it out as a candy brandy wine paint job, painted by me. The exterior features on it is the fastback, and all the chroming has been done by electroplating. The actual rims are from Speedy's. They're custom gold engraved rims. I also have a unique hydraulic setup inside of the vehicle in the trunk, which is a Speedy's also engraved and Hot Wheels built, and my design of the actual system. And then in the interior, going into the interior, it's original interior stitched by me, interior completed. And then also the stereo system is done by Mike Taylor from Ridez Automotive. He has done the actual stereo system and then installed it. Some of the customized trunk paneling was done also by Renee out of R&R Customs out of California, templates, and then upholstered by myself and Mike Taylor. The motor is a 350 crate motor, replaced the original motor due to some cracked issues in the actual block, so went ahead and replaced it with the 350 crate motor from Summit Racing. The engine compartment is chromed from engine all the way up to the actual mirror reflecting on the hood when you open it up and look at that as a display on the actual vehicle. The beginning of the car. My father was a former veteran, retired first sergeant. He purchased the car in 1967 upon returning from a tour in Vietnam. He went to the El Paso dealership in El Paso, Texas, and seen the vehicle and was looking for a vehicle to purchase. The gentleman there told him the vehicle was not for sale due to the fact it was the display vehicle and the only display vehicle they would have in the next few months. So the gentleman said he couldn't sell the vehicle. So he left his number and told him if he decided to sell the vehicle, he could give him a call. So he went ahead and went home, and a little saddened that day. He then received a call the following day saying, hey, if you're still interested in the vehicle, we'll go ahead and sell it to you. So he went up there and purchased the vehicle, and then after that, he went ahead and drove the vehicle to Mexico to pay his, permiso time for being in Vietnam. He went all the way to Mexico City, right there to the Virgen Guadalupe, and did what he needed to do there. And then he drove back from Mexico all the way back to El Paso, Texas in that vehicle. That was his first trip, which therefore led to other larger trips. We then drove that vehicle from there. My father drove it at the time through Central South America to Panama, which is pretty incredible because of the roadways and the infrastructure in that era and that time wasn't as it is today. With no AC, of course, driving through that era and that time, very hot. He drove that car in and out of Panama, and then he ended up shipping it back here to Charleston, South Carolina, where then he was stationed back here at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Upon his completion of his tour here at Fort Bragg, he was then assigned to Italy, and he shipped the vehicle to Italy. And it stood there for about 2 years, and then was then assigned to Germany, where my father was then assigned to Kitzingen, Germany. And the vehicle was there in the snow and everything else in Germany. And then once again shipped back to Italy, being assigned there in Italy. Upon completion of his European trip, he then was assigned to Fort Ord, California, and then the car was shipped to Fort Ord, California. Again, it's been traveled throughout the world, I say. Went from one Atlantic side to the Pacific side, and then where he then started fixing the vehicle up and repainting it, and then turned it into a lowrider. I did a total of 31 years of service. Out of those 31 years of service, I spent about 14 years on operational detachment. Definitely a very challenging and unique lifestyle to be a part of that organization, and challenging for my family who supported me at every level. After receiving all that training, it comes down to the actions as an operator and actions as an ODA detachment team sergeant, that we've conducted multiple missions throughout the globe. I would mostly talk about Central South America, where we conducted some operations that support counter-narcotics operations, where we train our partner forces into conducting improvised explosives on actual runways to eliminate the threat of aircraft to fly in and fly out with drugs. We also support them how to train their partner forces in counter ambushes and actual how we can do raids on actual laboratories of counter narcotics. That's kind of a small picture of the counter narcotics piece of conducting operations. However, reality is that people are out there doing it right now globally, across every theater in the Pacific, Central South America, and as well in the Eastern countries. Moving into the Afghanistan theater of operations, some of my deployments there, operations that conducted at the ODA level range from combat reconnaissance patrols all the way up to large-scale raid operations with our partner forces. Prior to that is again all the intense training that we have to conduct with our partner force to ensure that they're qualified and they're trained to conduct these operations. Is one of our key means of delivery of our actual goods to those individuals, so they can train and excel and be able to accomplish the missions they're told or given to complete. Very, very detailed planning to train those individuals, and resources taken to develop those partner nations and partner forces. That's kind of one of the key things that Green Beret does in order to conduct operations. And operations are again vary on the mission set, what it might be, from combat reconnaissance patrol down to an actual large-scale raid on a compound or a village. You can kind of see some of the videos and news stories out there, how they conduct operations, and each unit is very unique and different in nature and how they conduct the operations. Coming from a military background family, definitely it was not all the silver spoon in the mouth. My father had to work hard for where he was at, coming from his family through the military ranks to make it all the way up to first sergeant. So definitely challenging on that end. And again, and then the economy and how we are, in that era was definitely hard work and hard discipline, on the family. And as well, my father, he was the only worker in the family. My mother was a full-time mother. So it was definitely not any very easy life in the military, moving on to where then I took over and started my family here. We moved here in 1988. Again, challenges. We didn't have the family to go eat dinner with in the evenings or the weekends, and all those additional amenities that could be given to us, you know, the savings that were there. We had to kind of manage our money, and again, my rock over there has to balance out everything we'd done, you know, what we could do on vacation and how many times we could eat out and how many things that we could acquire and build. Definitely good, smart choices that were given and you know, decided from both of us, me and Olga, to decide on what we want to invest in, what we didn't want to invest in, and what we had to divest of, you know, to achieve and gain where we're at today. And it took a lot of sacrifice and a lot of will to do that, and discipline. You know, there were things that we say we wanted, you know, but did we need it? And there's some of those things that we looked at. Was it a necessity, you know, or was this something we really truly needed to make us some additional funds, or as well make our lives, you know, a lot easier? So those are some of those actual mitigations we had to do. And again, there were some challenges. You know, hey, do we want to feed the kids and put them through school, or do we want a set of Daytons, you know? Of course, we chose the school and the kids, and that's kind of where we're at today. We invested some of the kids' future, and as well continue to, in our rest of our lives for our future. But again, we balanced it out as a balance. I would just say perseverance and, you know, and goals. And you know, achievement, you know, those are kind of those two things that you got to kind of do, you know. And then lastly is going to be, you know, family is first, you know, God is second, and then country. You know, that's ultimately what you got to kind of, those pillars, you kind of carry those things around with you, will kind of lead you in the direction you need to go, you know, in life, and actually challenge yourself day to day, and you know, be a good, humble person, and enjoy life, because it is very short. My name is Frank Enriquez. I'm from Hope County, Rayford, North Carolina. I'm a real person, I'm a real story, and I have a real ride.